So I work with business owners to ensure they always have a growing and more profitable business.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Invest Iowa. Today I have Rocky Lalvani with me, and we are going to talk about profit first. I mean, ultimately, that's the end goal of this conversation. Learn how to take your business from having a business to actually making money with the business. It seems to be something that everybody struggles with at some point, right? Like, because you're in the business of making money, doesn't matter in which business you are.
That
Thank
is
you.
so true.
Thank you so much for accepting the invite. Looking forward to learning a lot from you. And yeah, thank you for accepting the invite.
You are most welcome. Excited to chat with you.
Tell me a little bit about your story. Tell me how you became to be who you are right now, currently, what you're working on, a little bit about yourself.
You know, it's a lot easier to connect those dots going backwards than to do it forward. As a kid, I was very entrepreneurial. We lived outside of New York City. I would go into New York City. I'd buy stuff wholesale. I'd split it up. I'd come back and sell it to my friends for 100% markup. So I was always hustling and making a buck. I was also a tech geek way back in the early days. So I took all that money and I went and bought an Apple II computer. Back then they had a whopping 4K of memory. I remember when my friend got one with 16K, I was jealous. But today that's like, people laugh about that.
Yeah.
And one of the early programs that actually ran on those computers was a program called VisiCalc. It was one of the first spreadsheets. So this is long before Lotus 123, long before Excel, and all of that came to be. And so I just loved playing with it, learning it. And adults started seeing that and they're like, hey, can you teach these accountants how to go from electronic spreadsheet, from paper ledgers to electronic spreadsheets? And then when I was in college, I was working for a bank. They're like, you know how to do this? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, go do it for us. I just didn't realize how much value that had. And so I couldn't figure out how to monetize it. Looking back later, I've realized how much value there is in spreadsheets, how even the largest of companies take all their data out of their systems, dump it into Excel, and that's where they analyze the data. For me, looking at numbers tells me stories, and then I try and figure out the story that it's telling and where the problems are. So I just happen to have that natural gift. I didn't realize how valuable it was. I didn't realize how much people don't talk about money, don't learn appropriately about money, and don't have the right attitudes and behaviors around money. And so it was also kind of bringing those two together. And then the third aha was that the fact that most business owners weren't looking at their financials. I was like, how do you run a business and not look at your financials? And
Right.
so that's what I help. I help business owners, real estate investors, and people like that better understand their profits and their cash flows so that they get the rewards for what they did.
What do you think that they don't get? What do you think a business owner doesn't understand about the business?
Well, so first of all, most business owners went into business to do what they love. Being an accountant wasn't on the list.
Okay.
So that's the problem. It's the part of the business that they don't enjoy, and whatever you don't enjoy, you won't focus on. It's just life. It's human nature.
Yeah.
So if you don't enjoy doing it, it gets ignored.
Okay. So accounting is the biggest, you'll say, is the biggest concern to learning your numbers?
For business owners who don't do this, it will become a concern. It's not what they're thinking. Like, they're not waking up in the middle of the night going, I wish I learned more accounting. They're waking up in the middle of the night going, how am I going to make payroll? They're waking up going, how am I, is that check going to clear? When's the next dollar coming in? They don't equate that back to, hey, if I had good financial controls in place, that I wouldn't be having these nightmares at 2 a.m.
Okay. What are some of the strategies that you implement for these businesses that are struggling with that?
So a big part of where we begin is with profit first. And profit first is nothing more than a cash flow management strategy created by Mike Michalowicz. And there's plenty of different versions of the profit first book. But basically, what Mike did was change the equation. So in the accounting world, you're told sales minus expenses equals profit.
Mhm.
Where does that leave profit?
At
It's
the
at
end.
the end. Yeah, it's a leftover. It's an afterthought. Well, if your profit is an afterthought, no wonder you're struggling. Mike said, we got to change the formula. If the formula is sales minus profit equals expenses, now profit becomes a priority. You've heard that people say pay yourself first, right?
Yeah.
How many people do that?
Almost no one.
Yeah. This is a system to pay yourself first. And that's basically what it does. So we help business owners ensure that they pay themselves first, have cash flow, are ready to handle their tax bills, and that they constrain their spending. Because the problem we all have is we overspend in our business, we overspend in our life. It's the American way.
The American way. You say that every business has that problem?
I would say half of businesses don't make it to 5 years. Very few make it past 10 years. One of the biggest reasons is cash flow and profitability.
Mm.
So I think many business owners struggle with cash flow and they struggle with being highly profitable. Are there people who are? Absolutely. Ask me what percentage. I would probably tell you 5 to 10.
Hmm. That's
5 because they're intentional and 5 because they're lucky.
there's a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
So in the profit first, how is that different from having profits at the end? What do you change in the formula?
So it's the focus. In other words, so profit first is nothing more than a cash flow system. What most business owners do is they're like, okay, let me look at my bank account and see how much money I have. No, most business owners aren't opening up QuickBooks and saying, how much money do I have?
Right.
And for most business owners, the QuickBooks isn't even up to date. So they look at their bank account. Some business owners look at it multiple times a day. Do I have money? Do I not have money? And so what Profit First does is it leverages that habit. And what happens is Mike talked about setting up 5 bank accounts. The first bank account is your income account where all your money comes into. So every time you look at your bank, you can see how much money came in. If you just have one big pile of money sitting there, you don't know what came in, what went out, what happened. But by having one account whose sole purpose it is to collect money, you know how much money came in.
Okay.
We take that money and then we distribute it. So we take it and we distribute it. Guess where we put it first?
I ain't going to sell profits.
Yes, profit comes first, right?
Okay.
So we put, if you said you're going to have 10% profit, we take 10% off the top and we put it in the profit account. Then we put money aside for the owner's pay because the sad truth is most owners pay themselves last and they're the one taking all the risk and doing all the work and making all the investments and they put themselves last in line. And they always feel like they don't think they can take money out of the business. By setting aside money for the owner knows that the money is there for them. Then we put money aside for the IRS so that when they come a knocking, you've got the ability to stroke a check. And then we put the remainder aside for spending. And that goes in our operating account. Now you know how much you truly have to spend in the business without you giving up your home life and your home bills and your pay and your profit and accidentally spending money that you owe in taxes.
I'm curious. What are the other 4 accounts?
So it's profit,
Okay,
right?
profit.
Owner's pay, your pay,
Okay.
taxes, and then operating expenses.
Operating expenses. And what's left will be
So the first comes into income. So that's the fifth account. The first account is income. The other four are for withdrawing. One is to
Mm,
bring the money in. The other four are to take money out with an intended purpose.
okay. I see what you're saying. Now, this company, besides the cash flow and the management of that money, what other struggles do you see business having?
I think the next biggest struggle that many business owners have is income generation. So how do I get new sales? How
Yeah.
do I drive revenue? What happens is we get in this back and forth between revenue generation and delivery of what the people bought. And one of my good friends is Rich Allen. He talks about everything in the metaphor of a bicycle. Your front wheel is your sales, your back wheel is your delivery. If
Yeah.
you ride a bicycle and your front wheel and back wheel are not moving at the same speed, you're either flying over the handlebars or flying off the seat backwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens to most business owners is they go out, they sell, and then they get all these sales. Now they spend all their time delivering.
No
Well,
sales.
yeah, they forget about sales, and then they
Mm,
spend all their time delivering, and then once they're done delivering, then it's like, but now I have no sales.
right.
So then they go back to pushing for all the sales. So it's this constant back and forth battle.
I couldn't agree more with that. It's also kind of like a human, just
Human nature.
it's human nature, because once you have the sales, you kind of put yourself into a conservation mode.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's not that you even go into it's more, I think, the fact that you end up um too busy, right?
Yeah.
Because you're so busy delivering, you forget to go out and market yourself.
Yeah. What about spending? So at what point do you, when you have sales and sales and sales, at what point do you start putting people in place? When do you say it's a good time to put not only a system, but a person to control that system for you and the business?
So the first step is creating the system.
Okay.
Most business owners never create the system.
Okay.
They hire somebody and say, go out and do it. And that
Mm,
person has no clue what's going on. And then we all get mad that our people don't do what we said. Well, because you didn't tell them. You didn't set measurement goals. You didn't tell them how you wanted it done.
okay.
And that's where the problem comes up,
Okay.
is along those lines. So first build a system and then put a person in place to run the system.
Okay. Systems before people. And could we be a little more specific about systems? This is interesting. I could take it all sorts of ways, but what do you mean by systems?
So I think that really depends on the business,
Okay.
right? What does the business do? What do you need that person to do? Right? There's a step-by-step way to do something. If you're building something, there's a step-by-step way. If you're rehabbing a house, okay, let's say I'm going to rehab a house and I come in and the guy goes, oh, the carpet guy's here. I'm going to lay carpet first. What's going to happen? Right? You got brand new carpeting and now the painter comes in. And now the demolition crew comes in to clean out the kitchen. Well, your carpet's going to get ruined,
Yeah.
right? So do we put the carpet in first? No. We do things in the order that they are supposed to be done. And whatever the business is, whatever that person is supposed to do, there is a system and a process to follow. The better the systems, the less you think, the more efficient you become. So think of this. You ever been to McDonald's?
Yep.
You go to McDonald's all over the country, right?
Yep.
And yet they hire some of the lowest skill, untrained people. And yet this entire multi-billion-dollar business is running on it. Why?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Very good systems.
very good systems, very good training, very simple. Okay. Anybody can take that job and they
Hmm.
just do what they're told. That automated, so to speak.
I see. Okay, so the simplicity of these jobs is always not going to be there for all businesses. What about the businesses that have high skill labor?
So I have a system
Okay.
that I run my business off of. I have a podcast. I have a checklist for my podcast. There's a system to it, right? There are tracking systems throughout. There's process systems making sure everything gets done in certain ways. You
Hmm.
mess up a step and then you have to go redo everything. So now you've wasted all the time. So I don't think it matters how certain parts require thinking, yes.
Yeah.
But you still need to have the foundations of how you do that.
Okay. This just reminded me. I was having a conversation with a guy named Justin, and he has a lot of franchise restaurant.
Mhm.
And one of the things that he mentioned is that most people never plan an exit strategy to the business that they're building.
Mhm.
What do you think about that?
You should always have two parts to that. One is understanding your exit strategy, or at least understanding what do I want. So define the end of what you want. Your exit strategy might be a coffin, and that's okay, right? But at least define that. The second thing, though, to think about as a franchise owner in restaurants is when you have the systems in, your business becomes easier, right? It becomes much, much, much less stressful to run. Problems are much less likely to occur because
Okay.
you've dealt with them, you've weeded them out, you've figured it out.
Okay. What about for real estate?
So, well, let's talk about real estate. What are we talking about? Rentals? Are we talking about flips? What are we talking about with real estate?
I mean, I feel like your average real estate investor might be dabbling a lot more with rentals. And if they feel like they want to pursue that at least part-time, then they'll start to get into flips and things like that. That's my perception, right? But
Okay.
could be anybody.
So let's start with a rental. The
Okay.
first process of a rental, and works with rentals, is we have a spreadsheet to analyze the deal. In real estate, money is made on the purchase, right? So if we're going to sit down and we're going to look at a rental, what is our process to analyze the financials on the rental? So clearly we know the purchase price. Second, is there a rehab cost involved to
Yeah.
make it rental ready? So a home is different than a rental. If I'm going to put a rental together, I'm going to build my rental very different than I'm going to put a house that I flipped and want to sell. They're going to be different houses. They're going to be built differently. They're going to be remodeled differently.
Right.
So I need to know what my costs are. Now I need to know what's the rent. Does it cover all my costs? And does it actually allow me to be profitable? The problem with real estate is everybody in real estate's a go bro. They are the smartest, best people, and they always get top dollar for everything. BS, right? They don't plan for, I can get $2,000 rent. No, you can't. Nobody's going to pay you $2,000 rent except, you know who will? The guy who's got a 0 credit score and nobody else will rent to him. He'll give you 2,000 today. Forget about ever seeing 2,000 again. 12 months later, he's still living in your place. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So appropriately building out a budget and a pro forma that is conservative, not optimistic, that has the ability to handle things that go wrong. So let me ask you a question. In real estate, do we expect vacancy?
We do expect vacancy.
Okay. How many people, what's an average vacancy percentage?
For a well-run property, 95% occupancy rate will be
Okay. Oh, good. All right. How many people say I'm going to have a 5% vacancy and put 5% of their rent aside to cover vacancy every year?
Honestly, no one.
No
Like,
one.
yeah.
Okay.
Unless they know what they're doing, right? But
Yeah. If I was a syndicator, I assure you I'd be putting money aside, because the last thing I want to do is make a capital call. I make a capital call, I'm getting screamed at, and nobody's giving me money again. So I'm building my reserves in that place. Same thing, profit first. We have a rental, we put money aside in the vacancy fund. All right, let's say we buy a house, it's a used house. Roof is 21 years old. Okay, it's fine. I see the face you're making, right? How many people, as part of their thing, say, look, the roof's going to be 15 grand. In the next 4 years, I need 15 grand. Yeah, exactly. Right. Oh my God, the roof leaked. It's an emergency. I never knew that was going to happen. Really? Let me smack you upside the head for that one. Okay. When I put appliances into an apartment, 5-year life. I just assume they're going to last 5 years. I get more than 5 years, bonus, but I plan on 5 years.
Yeah.
Heating systems, hot water heater, 10 to 15 years. They go longer, great. I have extra profit. The roof, if I put a new roof on today with today's roofing materials, I'll get 30. But if I'm buying a place with a 20-year-old roof and it's the old style shingles, then I know I can look at that house and tell you how quickly things are going to go wrong. And if you don't plan for it, now you're in cash flow crunch. Now you can't afford to fix the roof. The next thing you know, it's leaking. Now we've got mold. Now your tenant moves out. Now what happens?
Vacancy, 100%.
Vacancy, 100%. Exactly. And all of this, had you sat down and mapped it out, was clear as day. I already can tell you the outcome based on where we started. So these are the types of things that just need to get mapped out, planned for, money put aside for. Most real estate people, they see money, they go, oh, we got to reinvest that. And they have no margin. So what's happening in the commercial office space right now is rates went from 3.5% to 7%. Oh my God, that'll never happen. What do you mean that'll never happen? Of course that's going to happen. Did you plan for it? Did you look at your budget and stress test to say, what happens if this occurs? Am I still going to be able to do that? Yes or no? And across this country, at a rate that's unbelievable, commercial property owners are handing the keys back to the lender. Here you go. I'm out. Bye-bye. Right. Millions of dollars worth of properties. Same thing happened in residential real estate in 2008. People said, take the house. And so these things go through cycles. Let's not fool ourselves. Plan for them. Have the cash. When you have cash, you can walk in and pick up deals.
Yeah.
Especially in opportune times.
What do you think are the opportunities in this current market?
Right now, residential in most places is still holding up tight. And there's a couple of reasons for that. There's not enough supply. People have moved all over, creating imbalances. The other thing is, if somebody bought a house 4 years ago and now they want to buy a bigger house across the street, if they move across the street to the same exact house, because of the mortgage payment, it's 50% more. So people aren't moving. Like, that's the problem. This is where subject to becomes great, because if you can pick up subject to with a low interest rate, you're golden. Overpay for the property, right? Because if it's going to cost me 50% more to finance it, why not pay 10% more to buy it with the subject to loan? Think differently.
I was totally not expecting that you were going to mention this, but the creative finance realm is something that I know that everybody listening to this is super excited to hear. So talk to me about like businesses and creative finance strategies.
Creative finance is wonderful, but you want to be in control, right?
Okay.
So let's not get too crazy. Too many people, creative finance means hard money at 15%. That's not creative. Okay. That's going to the pawn shop and selling your wedding ring.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, but there are opportunities where if you can pick up someone else's low interest rate loan, that's phenomenal because the loan is where the value is, not in the property. We have not been in an inflationary environment for 40 plus years. People aren't familiar with what this looks like. I remember when interest rates, you could go to the bank and get an 18% CD. Okay.
18?
18. See, I saw that face. You didn't even know that occurred, right? Yeah. Okay. I remember, and I think it was Citibank. I could be wrong. Citibank had a one-page ad in like the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. And it basically said, deposit $1 million with us for what, 5 years in a CD. And as a bonus, we'll give you a Rolls Royce.
Wow.
Okay. Like when you used to open bank accounts, they would give you gifts. The more money you gave them, the bigger the gift. You might get a toaster oven if you only put in 10 grand,
Yeah.
but you put in 50 grand and, maybe, I mean, they didn't have big screen TVs back then, but
Yeah.
that's kind of what was going on because we were in an inflationary environment. When I was a kid, a passbook savings account, which is just a regular savings account, paid 5.5% for years. You did
Five
nothing,
and
you made 5.5%.
well, that's a lot in comparison to right now.
Yeah. And all I had to do was put $20 in to open the account. So it wasn't, and I could take the money out tomorrow. Yeah.
Wow.
So those times are not that long ago.
Yeah.
Things change. You've got to understand that business goes through cycles. We go through waves. It's normal. We just haven't been through a wave since 2008.
Hmm.
And that's the problem. People forget. Whatever hasn't happened in the last 3 years, people forget. And so I think people are forgetting what bad times look like. And when bad times come, opportunities occur. And that's where
Hmm.
everything goes on sale. And the guy sitting there with cash or access to cash is going to pick up deals left and right.
Hmm.
And that's
Okay.
the way it was in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14. We were picking up deals left and right.
Hmm. I see. Yeah, yeah, that totally makes sense. But now for all of those businesses, talk to me about the cycles. So how do you prepare yourself for a cycle as a business?
Well, being aware, you can never predict. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing in what we teach with Profit First and always build cash reserves. Okay. Everyone's like, cash is trash. You know, the one guy I know is named Warren Buffett. Maybe you heard of him. He's got 130 billion in cash. Okay. Why? Opportunity. He's not going to swing at crappy deals. He only swings at no brainer win it deals. Everyone else is swinging at every piece of crap that comes flying by.
Mm.
You have to have patience. Wealth is not built overnight. All these guys telling you overnight wealth, they're lying. Wealth is built over time. Buffett didn't have his first billion till he was in his 50s. The only
Mm.
reason he's so rich is because he's still alive.
Yeah.
He had time. So, do you understand the power of compounding?
I I think I do.
Okay. So, let's try an example.
Let's try.
I give you $1 today, right? And tomorrow I double it and give you the double. So, I give you $2 tomorrow. If we double it again the next day, you get $4. If we double it the next day, you get $8. If I take that dollar and double it for 31 days this month, How much do you have?
I remember the last time I saw that you're gonna have more that you're gonna be a millionaire if or more. I know it's a lot of money that the less once it starts picking up the last 10 days, the growth just skyrockets.
It skyrockets. So a dollar doubled every day for 31 is over $1 billion.
Over $1 billion. Oh,
Over a
so you will
billion.
be a billionaire. Okay.
You'd be a billionaire. Except if you decided that I'm going to start tomorrow, then you'd only have 500 million. And if you waited another day, right, then you'd only have 250 million. And well, let's let the weekend go by. Well, now you only have 67 million.
Wow.
Well, now I don't know if I want to do it. Let me think about it for another day. Now we're down to 30 million. Okay. You not taking action in this minute, in this day to compound your wealth, you just gave up being a billionaire. Good luck. People
Hmm.
don't understand the power of being young because you have time.
So what should we do? I mean,
Waste it.
I don't want to waste my time.
Start building wealth. Start putting money aside in assets. Don't go running around buying the stupid Ferrari and the fancy watch. And I mean, enjoy life. Please don't get me wrong. Enjoy life, but build wealth.
Build
Get your
wealth.
money started to compound, right?
Okay.
Cash flowing assets, cash flowing businesses, and
Assets
start
is the
doing
keyword.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You wouldn't buy anything that wouldn't produce cash flow?
Um, why would you buy something that doesn't produce cash flow?
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's
Like,
a
I
good
mean, sometimes there are reasons if you can see a trend and you know that there's an opportunity, but you're betting at that point, you're speculating,
Hmm.
right? You're really not investing. You're just speculating. You're hoping it goes up, and ego takes the best of you.
So based on what you just said, you wouldn't consider the stock market an asset?
Stock market is an asset because what are you doing
You- You're I mean you're investing. You're buying
in?
a cash flow and producing
Not
thing.
necessarily. There are many companies in the stock market that have negative PEs. They're
Okay.
losing money.
Hmm.
Okay. So buying good, solid, that's how Warren Buffett made his money. Well, that's part of the reason. It's not totally. But the point is, if you're buying a good, solid, cash flowing business, then you will build wealth over time. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with the stock market.
Hmm. Why do you think people so many times just ditch the stock market under the bus, just
All right.
thinking that
So
they get better returns somewhere else?
here's what happens in the stock market that most people don't realize. When the stock market crashes, how many people run out and buy stocks?
Only the smart ones.
Only the smart ones. When the stock market is surging ahead and it's doing great, how many people go out and buy stocks?
Yeah, I'm guilty of that.
Okay? Human nature. Now let me ask you a question. You go to the grocery store today, okay? You want to buy a loaf of bread. It's normally $3. Today it's 10. What are you doing?
I mean, I'm not buying that.
Right? Now, what if it's $1?
I'm buying it.
You're buying it. Maybe you get two because, hey, I can get two and still save money, right? I'll save it for next week.
Yeah.
Yet when it comes to the stock market, everyone doesn't behave like that. It's fear of missing out on the way up, and it's fear when it's on the way down. It's
Hmm.
all human emotion. If you can't control your emotions with regards to money, you're in trouble, and most people can't.
Okay. Well, I guess with the example of the loaf of bread, uh, it's a lot easier to analyze the cost of bread that to analyze a cash flowing asset, a cash flowing business, right?
It is. I get it. You
Yeah,
have to put the time and effort in.
that's fair. What do you look at when you're for the stock market? What is so special that? It's a good
I don't
opportunity.
think it's anything special or whatever. I think when you look at the stock market, it's ease of in and out, right?
Mhm.
If I want to get out of real estate, it's going to take me time.
Okay.
If I want to sell Microsoft, I can do it in a fraction of a second. Okay. It's simple and it's easy. I don't have to worry about how to run Microsoft. Okay. I do have to worry about how to run my property. That said, from day to day, the property value is probably not going to fluctuate. My
Mm,
Microsoft might go up and down. My Bitcoin's going to be all over the place,
yeah.
right? So each market has its pluses, its minuses, its advantages, disadvantages. And that's just the reality of it. And it's
That's
also a control factor. If
okay.
I own real estate, I control it. I own McDonald's, if I own the stock, I have no control.
Right. No control. And that's what scares more people.
So, you know what? Then let's just not do anything today and give away the $1 billion.
Okay. That's okay. I like that way of thinking. Okay. Okay. And that's not only for not only for the stock market, but for any type of investment, right?
Including yourself. Read a book, learn something,
Hmm.
invest in yourself. I don't care what it is, right? Everything compounds plus and negative, right? You're still a young guy. I can assure you your weight might compound to the positive if you don't watch it, right? You gain 3 pounds a year. Where do you think you're going to be in 20 years? 60 pounds overweight. Look at
Hmm.
that face.
Yeah.
You start going into a little bit of debt. And every year you go into a little bit of debt. It compounds
Hmm.
and it turns into a noose.
Yeah.
So everything compounds to the plus and to the minus, different rates, different ways.
Well, that's a lot of information. How can people reach out to you if they want to know about what you're working on? They have a business and anything. They just want to get to know you, talk, have a conversation with you. How can
So
they reach out
before
to
they
you?
reach out to me, where does this get posted? YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram,
Everywhere.
Twitter,
Do you know what
TikTok.
all those platforms have in common?
What do they have?
They have this like button. How many of you are not hitting the like button for this dude bringing you great content? Come
That's a
on,
good
hit the
one.
like button. Be
That's a good.
nice. Say thank you.
Please hit the like
Yeah.
button and subscribe.
After you do that, if you'd like to find me, I run 2 podcasts. One is called Profit Answer Man. It's where we teach both business owners everything they need to know about how to have a growing and more profitable business. Once you've built your wealth and you got your money rolling, come on over to my other podcast. It's called Richer Soul. At Richer Soul, the tagline is you got rich, now what? How are you going to
Mm,
live the ultimate life? And
mm.
so both of those, you can find me. Google my name, you'll find me everywhere.
If you made it this far in the video, subscribe, hit the like button again. Thank you so much for coming, Rocky. This was great information. I'll take away the uh, do it today. Don't let that billion go away. And I'll see you guys in the next one.